Anybody want to volunteer for Pledge of Allegiance? Sure, Don, thanks.
Sure, no problem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Start with public comment period before we actually do anything. Anybody who doesn't, I should say any public comment that's not related to our old business Orchard Park expansion of operating territory who would like to speak now. Going once. That will come later. This is not related to that. So any other subject? Okay, so there's no public comment related to that. So we'll entertain a motion to suspend our regular order of business and move directly to old business, Orchard Park expansion of operating territory.
I'll make a motion we suspend business and go to old business.
Motion by Chris, second by Greg Gill. On the question?
On the question, is there public comment allowed during the?
Yes, there will be.
Okay.
So before we get to that, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. So for the process here, we will start with those who have signed in for public comment. Is there anybody here that would like to offer public comment on the expansion application and has not yet signed in? Please come forward. So we have 4 people who are signed in to offer public comment. We'll give those people the opportunity to speak first. When you speak, please come up front, state your name for our stenographer, and state your affiliation, and speak as slowly and clearly as you can to afford our stenographer this evening the opportunity to catch up. So in order, Daniel Sikorsky.
Yes.
Please.
Turn around.
Want me to spell my last name? First name, everything else?
Sure.
D-A-N-I-E-L.
D-A-N?
D-A-N-I-E-l. Sikorsky, S-I-K-O-R-S-K-I. I'm with Vigilant, V-I-G-I-L-A-N-T, Fargo, West Seneca. Is that sufficient, sir?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Good evening. I believe every community wants an effective and efficient EMS system to respond to their every needs. The EMS system we have today has changed, and of course it's adapted over the years. The frequency of calls puts a big demand on this system, as we all know. The resources sometimes cannot respond to these needs. Unfortunately, just the way it is part of life nowadays. If we change nothing, how do you expect things to change, to go in a different direction? The residents of Orchard Park wanted an improved EMS system in their town. They now have a dedicated ambulance service. And of course, things have changed for them. Responses to emergency is critical, especially when it may be your family member that's the one needing emergency. The residents are very satisfied with the system they have, especially during the years since Orchard Park EMS has expanded. And of course, even offering as far as different services, teaching, for example, like in the school systems. Let the residents of each community get all their information to make a decision based upon that. After all, we're the ones serving them 24 hours a day. Thank you. Sufficient, ma'am? Okay. There.
Barbara Mann.
Barbara, B-A-R-B-R-A. Oh, thank you. Mann, M-A-N-N. I'm the first one. I'll bear down. Fire. I started my career in the volunteer service in 1985. I've worked for a paid ambulance service in a rural emergency room for years. I volunteered in the fire and ambulance service in Springville and now in West Seneca. The main objective in all of this is to give excellent quality of care in a timely fashion. Back in the 1980s, there were waiting lists to join the fire service. Volunteers today have diminished due to people having busy lives, working multiple jobs, raising single-family households, and being unable to keep up with the demands of volunteer training. There are still many people out there that are willing to volunteer. but the demands of everyday life limit their ability to serve 24/7. The reason I like Orchard Park EMS is that they utilize the current volunteers. Most people volunteer because they want to help their community. The only difference between a paid and volunteer service is that we may not get to utilize that training on a daily basis, but the desire to help when we can is there. With an organization like Orchard Park, you get the satisfaction of knowing that your community will always get excellent quality care in a timely fashion while utilizing volunteers within your organization. Saving a life is not a political endeavor. It is a personal gratification of helping people within your community, and with Orchard Park, you can obtain that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tom Barson.
Tom Barcy, B-A-R-S-I, Director of Education, Orchard Park EMS. Good evening. I want to speak to the reason why we were asked to expand our territory. Since we were found in 2009, since our company started, several companies came to us and asked us how they could start a system like ours. And those companies were West Seneca, Holland, Hamburg, and Elma. And they went over how we started ours. They went back and they found that they couldn't do, they didn't have the resources to do it that way, or they just couldn't do it that way. So then they asked us how we could help them. And without having the operating certificate to be able to go in those areas, we really can't help them. So they'd asked us if we would pursue expanding our operating certificate. And the reason is because the towns would want a choice. The district, the fire companies, the commissioners, the chief officers, right now they have two providers that they can choose from. They have one that's currently there, and then Twin City, who also has an operating certificate. However, they were offered the RFP by West Seneca and Hamburg, and they didn't submit an RFP. So they feel that they're not interested. So they'd asked us to be one of the providers. With only two providers, very easily, one of the providers could leave the area and then you'd only have one provider. And that doesn't give a choice to the people, and also an additional provider in these areas would offer these residents a choice and bring competition that would cause the current provider to improve their service. And Twin City used this argument back when they tried to expand to the city of Buffalo, that competition would actually make the care better. And we feel that the customers should be the ones that have a choice, and when it comes to which service the residents have. Thank you.
And Tim Benson.
Tim Benstead, Operations Manager, Orchard Park EMS.
Okay, I have to speak up a little bit, I'm not gonna.
Sure, no problem. Tim Benstead,
Yeah.
Operations Manager, Orchard Park EMS.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you all. Thank you for your time with this process. I know it is quite a lengthy process, and I thank the committee for all the work that they've done for this. The reason we submitted this, as Tommy has stated, is that we feel that there's a need for choice in the communities that we've asked for expansion in. They are our neighbors. They're the ones that we're concerned about. And they're the ones that would really have the most effect on us if something were to happen. Obviously, with the recent business change that AMR put into effect, they had to pull out of certain areas that they felt weren't feasible for them or weren't their primary focus. And as a business, we get that, we understand that. But as an emergency services organization, it doesn't help the community. It leaves those communities lacking in choices, and it really sets things into a tussle. They don't have long to try to get their citizens protected the best way they possibly can. We felt those changes also after they had pulled out of a couple of facilities in our region. We ended up with over 250 calls for the remainder of our year that were additional for us. So I don't know if your company could handle something like that if it occurred in your neighborhood. We just want the ability to have that choice. Under the Article 30 New York State Law 3003, subsection 5, the regional council has a responsibility to make the determination of what public need is. Obviously, 0606 gives you some guidance on that, but it's ultimately your decision as to what you determine to be a public need for the areas that we provide services in. I respectfully request you all vote for the expansion of our operational territory for the territories we have listed. And again, we thank you for your time.
That concludes the list of those who asked to speak publicly. Mr. Stryker is going to represent the Systems Committee. I have documents submitted by Mr. Stryker. If you'd like to explain those, give the report.
Mr. Chairman, the committee has the matter of application of the Oak Tree Park Fire District Incorporated for expansion of its operating territory to include the towns of West Seneca, Alma, Aurora, including the village of Aurora, Wales, Holland, Holden, Boston, Hamburg, including the village of Hamburg, and the village of Blaisdell, and the city of Lackawanna. First, the Systems Committee has received the findings of fact, conclusion, and recommendation, and the record of proceedings from the hearing officer appointed by the council to hear this application. I offer those documents dated January 11th, 2017, and ask that they be included as part of the record of tonight's proceedings. I will also note that copies of these documents have been previously provided to all council members, and every member has a copy tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Stryker. I received those documents. I ask that the stenographer mark the hearing officer's finding of facts, conclusion, and recommendations as council exhibit C1, and the record of proceedings as council exhibit C2. Please proceed, Mr. Stryker.
Mr. Chairman, the hearing officer found that the applicant has not met its burden of proof for demonstration of public need of a demonstrated absence, reduced availability, or an inadequate level of care in the ambulance or emergency medical service in the areas where it seeks to expand. The hearing officer also concluded that although the application submitted provided complete information, it failed to establish that a public need exists to support the request to expand Orchard Park Fire District EMS Incorporated's primary operating territory, and as a result, the application should be denied. The System Committee met on January 16th, 2017, and carefully and thoroughly reviewed both the hearing officer's findings of fact, conclusion, and recommendation, and the records of proceedings, and evaluated the application, all of the submissions, and the transcript from the public hearing held on December 28th, 2016, and as a result of that separate evaluation by the Systems Committee, came to the same conclusion of the hearing officer and adopted the hearing officer's findings of fact, conclusion, and recommendation and for the committee's findings, conclusion, and recommendation. Therefore, it is the Systems Committee's recommendation that the application be denied on the basis the applicant has not met its burden of proof for demonstration of public need for the request of expansion. Mr. Chairman, UH Policy Statement 0606 states that the Systems Committee must make a motion to approve the application, which motion comes before the whole council as a seconded motion for discussion. While the Systems Committee must make that motion for approval, the recommendation from the System Committee is to deny the application. I so move. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stryker, and the rest of the Systems Committee for the hard work that you put into this application and process. We have before us now a seconded motion to approve the application for expansion. Before we move to the question, we'll take a moment for any council member who wishes to declare or disclose a conflict to do so. Tony,
I'm going to vote, but I am also the general manager of Orchard Park EMS.
just state your name.
Anthony Allison.
Thank you.
Greg Gill, Gill. I'm a director for Orchard Park EMS.
And you intend to vote?
I intend to vote.
Anything else? Mr. Shaw?
Ron Timothy Shaw, nighttime paramedic, Orchard Park EMS. I ask that you attend the.
Anybody else? Mr. Maxion?
Tom Maxion, M-A-X-I-N, Regional Director for American Medical Response, and I intend to vote as well.
Anybody else? And I will state mine as well. Brian Bronner, CEO
sorry, Alan Turner.
Yeah.
CQI manager, what's the name?
S, I can't,
CQI.
oh, CQI.
Sorry. I intend to vote.
Mr. Smith?
Clifford Smith, I'm Assistant General Manager for AMR, and I intend to vote also.
Mr. Zimmer?
Christopher Zemrak. I'm a supervisor at AMR, and I live in the towns of Hamburg and Boston. I intend to vote.
Anybody else wish to declare a perceived or potential conflict? Any member of the council believe that another member has a perceived or potential conflict which was not disclosed? Hearing none, the motion on the floor is a second motion from committee is to approve the application for Orchard Park EMS to expand. Sorry, I don't have the list immediately. Forgive me for just a moment, I'll be right with you.
Mr. Chairman, it's on page 1 of the findings of fact, if you're looking for the territory.
That's helpful, thank you, sir. Okay. The expansion to include West Seneca, Elma, Aurora, including the village of East Aurora, Wales, Holland, Colden, Boston, Hamburg, including the village of Hamburg and the village of Blaisdell, and the city of Lackawanna, located in Erie County. I want to remind everybody the recommendation from the Systems Committee and from the hearing officer is to deny the application as stated, and that our obligation is to cast our vote based on the record prior to the recommendations made by the Systems Committee and not on the statements made tonight, although you certainly are free to consider whatever it is you consider when casting a vote. Just to confirm that we have an accurate count of voting members, would Mr. Zemrak read the roster voting?
Ballister.
Here. Yes.
We're not calling the vote yet.
No, we're not.
Just want to make sure we have
Yeah.
the list of
Yeah.
people who are voting.
Yeah, we do, I do.
So I thought.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, on the question?
Mr. Chairman, if I may ask a question related to conflicts, do we have any guidance relative to whether it be a conflict or not, the eligibility of voters based on their positions? I know in some other cases there has been question about eligibility of voters based on their positions within organizations and such.
I believe there have been questions raised. I'm not aware of any affirmative guidance as far as eligibility, and in fact believe that Article 30 contemplates such a conflict when it requires that our council be comprised of at least 10 members of representative ambulance services operating within the territories described. So I'm not aware of any such guidance that would affirmatively indicate whether somebody is permitted or not permitted to vote. If anybody else is aware of clear guidance on that subject?
The only reason I asked the question, I'll reference a recent Big Lakes conversation at their WEREMSCO meeting relative to guidance the state provided, and maybe Jim, you might have
There was
some reference on that.
I think Mr. Ronsky wrote a policy, not a policy, but a statement way back. I don't have it with me. It's not in a policy statement.
Not that I'm aware of. My understanding is it's only for, if one does exist, and I'm not sure that one does, that it's for people who are have a financial interest in the organization beyond a salary and benefits. I will offer as comment on the application. I think Orchard Park is to be commended for its desire to expand. It is laudable to want to help and serve and be involved in the community. This is not an easy task. It's a substantial effort to undertake, to put together the documents, to ask for permission to provide service in a place that you have and go through what is a several month process. Despite the fact that that's commendable, I do believe that 0606 clearly guides our action. The hearing officer's recommendation is clear, and the systems committee is clear that the applicant has not met its burden of proof. And any other comment is welcome. Mr. Gill?
You bring that up twice now, and last vote that we had was overturned because there wasn't discussion on the floor. So if we're not to take into account anything but the hearing officer's statement, then what's the sense of discussion?
This is the discussion on the floor that I think is helpful, and
You directed us 3 times now to follow the decision of the judge.
I stated that the recommendation of the hearing officer and of the systems committee was clear and in accordance with 0606, which also establishes the period when the record closes. We had a lot of opportunity to hear discussion on the issue at the public hearing and at other events, and now we're at the point where we make a decision. Mr. Treepass?
Mr. Chairman, thank you again. So I agree with your applauding Orchard Park as a resident of one of the communities in which they are applying for an expansion, and I'm intimately aware of some of those concerns within that community. My question at hand, however, is in referencing the hearing officer's statement regarding hers and the systems committee's reference to 0606 and the demonstrated absence, reduced availability, and adequate level of care. Is there any documentation or was there discussion with the applicant in advance of acceptance of the application related to that demonstration? I read the application and so forth, and I haven't seen anything relative to statistics about non-availability or anything along those lines. Is there anything? Am I missing something? I understand I'm new to the council, so I'm just trying to.
There was no direct discussion on point. It's up to the applicant to demonstrate that. That's the applicant's burden of proof. The applicant chooses the manner in which they bring that argument forth and make the demonstration.
Am I correct in saying that there are no current statistics about calls missed or unavailability then?
Any information would be contained in the completed application that has been made available and posted to our website. I did see some statistics in terms of current response times and performance. I also saw similar reports in the position paper presented by American Medical Response prior to the public hearing. I think that's the information statistically available at this point.
What are the statistics that was provided by AMR at the hearing? Were they made available to Orchard Park for any kind of review?
I believe they are publicly available on our website. You are welcome, have been to this point, welcome to review all information made available.
No, prior to the public hearing.
It was in the position paper submitted by American Medical Response prior to the hearing, which was posted to our website.
And that was posted what day? The day before the hearing?
Scott, are you able to? Excuse me while I ask the guy who handles that.
No, off the top of your head?
It was directly within legal counsel's guidance. I don't know if I can pull it up remotely, but the dates were very specific.
What was the date of the letter? If I can ask.
December 27th, 2016. Mr. Maxine?
I'd like to also say it's commendable what the guys are trying to do, and they are good guys, no question about it. And we're in a situation here where our role as the WEREMSCO is to obviously carry out what Article 30 says, and use all the guidance that we have. As recently as June of last
questions or comments from council members? Mr.
Just to
Santoro.
be clear, so if the council.
Sir, what's your name? What's your name?
Tony Santoro.
Thank you.
So if the council agrees or disagrees with this, they still have the authority to petition the state to overturn, correct?
The process from here, whatever decision the council makes, there's a 30-day period following the council's decision during which any interested party can appeal to the State Emergency Medical Services Council.
So the final decision doesn't lie with us.
The responsibility to make the decision lies with us. Like with any other legal process, there is an opportunity for appeal.
Just so I'm clear on that.
Mr. Ballister?
Tony Ballister again. Just out of curiosity, we had an incident up in Niagara County where they were pulled out. There was nobody to provide them a service. And all of a sudden Mercy Flight gets in there, starts to provide the town some service, and then all of a sudden AMR comes back and wants it back. What's preventing that from happening here in Erie and Wyoming County?
Well, I can't speak to that point, and this is not Niagara County. This conversation is specific to Wyoming-Erie County. Again, this isn't a conversation about what might happen. There's a lot of conversation we could have about what might happen in any environment at any time. This conversation is what has happened. Is there need? Whether there is or is not. That's the question, whether it exists now, not whether it exists prospectively. Ms. Mayor?
Cheryl Mayor. The difficult thing is when, and I've heard a lot of these around the state, the difficult thing is when you describe what is need. And is it 6 calls missed? Is it 1 person dead? Not to be dramatic, but you know, I've heard a lot of these things. So, and I am on the systems committee, just so you know. I voted to go with the support of the hearing officer. But I still have a lot of concerns on a personal level. If this is approved and this council decides to expand the operating authority, that doesn't eliminate the current structure from being in place, correct? It just gives another layer of availability of services. It doesn't throw out the first person's responsibility. It just adds another layer of options to the table. Is that correct?
The only change that would take place if, regardless of the council's actions tonight, is with respect to the application. If we approve the application, then Orchard Park Fire District EMS would, barring an appeal and subsequent process, be permitted to operate in the approved expanded operating territory. If we deny, again, barring an appeal and the subsequent process, then they would still be restricted to the geographical areas defined on their certificate of need.
And again, I've been around a few of these. We just went through this with Mercy, or however their real business name is. And at that instance, this council went to the letter of the law. Went to the letter of the law and said, this is what we get to do according to 0606, and that's how we voted. Worked well for us.
Well, I would say yes. We followed the recommendation of the hearing officer. Somebody, an administrative law judge acting on behalf of the SEMSCO, found that we didn't follow the letter of the law, that we failed to have this deliberation that we're now having for the record, and as a result overturned our decision. Mr. Gill?
And I'll just restate the discussion that cannot go towards the decision because.
I believe this discussion can.
Okay.
The public comment prior cannot,
Okay.
is my understanding.
But to your question, nobody's being displaced. There's no current provider being pushed out. That was, I think, your question.
Mr. Striker?
Mr. Striker, the problematic part of this whole thing is the definition of need. If there's 1 call that's missed, or if there's 6 calls that's missed. You're standing there waiting for an ambulance or a paramedic unit, and it's your loved one, 1 call is very important. If there's multiple calls because of availability, that tends to be a system issue. That's my comment.
And I agree that the definition of need is imperfect, but it's the guidance that we have. There is no firm number on how we should behave with regard to the definition of need. I would think that if there were a demonstrated absence, reduced availability, or an adequate level of care in a geographical area, that geographical area would be out supporting very loudly and seeking very actively alternatives to the current system or supplements to whatever the perceived failure is.
Scott Wander, EMS Program Agency.
I'm sorry, you are not a council member.
No, I'm answering Mr. Dill's question on the posting of the.
I'm assuming it's 28th. It was written the 27th, probably posted the 28th for the meeting on the 29th.
So the documents that we posted to the website, the notice of the public hearing, the initial application, the correspondence from the systems committee to the applicant, and the supplemental application, those items were posted on December 14th. Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
But did you state, I'm sorry, did you state the opposition paperwork was posted?
That was not in this initial email. I can continue to research.
Yeah, that's what I was asking. All that other stuff I know was posted well in there.
Carol Staffel, a council member. As an individual who grew up in the town of Hamburg, I really don't think you have a stadium that at least 8 times a year attracts 70,000 people. You have fairgrounds that for 14 days during a year attracts 1 million people. Why not have different layers of services when you have that many potential individuals with a fair and a football game going on in an area at the same time? The availability for catastrophic mass destruction is there. I do not think that having additional layers is a necessarily bad idea. I understand the hearing, but again, it goes back to need. I think that's a need right there.
I don't disagree with you that having multiple layers is a good thing.
I'm just taking my back for her.
Hey,
I'm
well-
looking at her.
I got you.
Look at her.
I should be clear that I'm not making any argument other than further into discussion. And
I'm sorry there, Brian.
I'm a big target, I get it.
No.
It's a great point, but whether that falls within the definition of need, as we understand it, or
What is
not.
need?
Need is defined as the demonstrated absence, reduced availability, or inadequate level of care in ambulance or emergency medical service available to a geographical area which is not readily correctable through the reallocation or improvement of existing resources.
There you go.
Anybody else with comments, questions, inquiries? Council members only, I should say. Mr. Turner?
Just a clarifying question, isn't the stadium already part of Orchard Park's response area?
No, we don't say inside the stadium, or Metro does, or AMR does.
Yeah, inside the stadium.
Is the stadium on Orchard Park property, is it part of the town of Hamburg?
It's not Hamburg, it's Orchard Park.
The parking lot is
Parking lot
Orchard
is-
Park.
So the stadium is in Orchard Park.
Yeah, so if there was an incident, they already could respond without any issue.
That seems to be correct. Unless,
It's physically located in Orchard Park.
so the stadium is in Orchard Park for the question or concern they were raising, and they are already able to respond to the stadium.
4,800 people that are in the stadium.
Any other inquiries, questions, or concerns from council members? Hearing none, Mr. Secretary, would you call the roll?
Is that vigorous enough?
I believe so.
Okay.
And just so we are clear for everybody, a yes vote is in favor of approving the expansion of operating territory. A no vote is in opposition to approving the expansion of operating territory. And Mr. Mahalko is gesticulating in the back.
I think Dr. Military is on.
No, that was my question.
Okay, he answers his question. You're clairvoyant.
Hearing no other questions. Mr. Secretary, would you call the roll?
Ballister.
Yes.
Barber.
Yes.
Billetier.
No.
Chalmers.
Yes.
Gill.
Yes.
Lapp.
Yes.
Estrella.
No.
Maxian.
No.
Mayor.
Yes.
McCarty.
Yes.
Rogers.
Yes.
Santoro.
Yes.
Shaw.
Yes.
Smith.
No.
Staffel.
Yes.
Stryker.
Yes.
Trepez.
No.
Turner.
No.
Zemrak. No. Okay. Your chair.
Still a voting member.
Okay. Mr. Bronner.
No.
Okay.
And the final count.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 12, yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Mr. Chairman, I believe you have a council member here who did not name get out your call because she did not sign in yet.
Is there a council member who has not signed in?
Okay,
Would you come forth and sign in, please?
sorry about that. Now you get like you're welcome to the council.
Yeah, a little pressure here.
Thank you.
So now she signed in.
Ms. Brandon?
Yes.
Twelve yes, 8 no.
The measure does not pass. 14 affirmative votes are required for us to pass the measure, so the expansion of our operating territory was not approved. We also have before us an invoice from the hearing officer in the total amount of $2,825.19. I will give this to the secretary, and we need a motion to pay the hearing officer. Motion from Tom Maxian, second from
Estrella.
Estrella, and I will, Banana, I'll catch you in a minute, okay? We'll direct our attorney to notify the Department of Health of the results of tonight's meeting, as well as provide a copy of the transcript. And are there any other matters on the issue at hand? Okay, hearing none, I do have a statement of fees and costs associated received from our attorney that I will forward to the applicant. Mr. Ballister, will you accept that for the applicant? Thank you. And a motion to direct the treasurer to invoice the applicant for that amount. Bill Stryker, seconds. Don Trepez. Any other issues related to Orchard Park's expansion of operating territory? Hearing none, a motion to return to our regular agenda.
So moved.
Don Trepez, Christine Estrella. We're back on the regular agenda, and thank you, Wendy, for your help. We appreciate it. Everybody want like a 5-minute break to get some water, or you want to power through? Power through, okay. We need a motion to approve the November 2nd, 2016 minutes. Excuse me?
Is there a Bart on the meeting?
Eric Burt? Yes, he came and signed in. Was he not called?
He was not called either.
Would have been nice to appeal that. Can we back up to before having adjourned?
Go back on.
He's an alternate, but how many members were present?
I don't have him as
You
an alternate.
called,
I don't have him as an alternate.
you don't have Eric Bird as an alternate?
And is
And?
Bert an alternate, or is he on the waiting list?
Alternate.
Okay, I didn't have him as an alternate.
Who do you have as alternates?
Okay.
Is that right?
Yeah. I apologize. I didn't have him on my list.
I apologize, being an alternate, I didn't have that close.
How many do we have total voting? You said that was 12 to 8?
Yes, we had 12 and 8.
So that was 20 total, so it needs to vote.
If I may, just in review of the minutes from a procedural situation here, our minutes from the previous meetings state that his application was held until openings happen on the council.
That's the November 2nd?
That's what was in your, let me just double check the top of it, but yes. Under membership.
Dr. Bart was taken off because we did not receive the application, leaving an opening in the hearing, which I filled with the next application, which would have been Eric's. And we still have several pending.
When did that happen? As far as I was aware, Dr. Bart was still a member of the council. We hadn't moved on that.
After the meeting when we were, I met with Jim Glass, we were cleaning up the application, or the membership. And he was moved from pending to a member.
Certainly adds a layer of complexity. I don't believe we made that motion with membership during the course of regular business. I don't know how to handle this.
Yeah, in the minutes, it says motion, in the minutes, it says motion 1635 made to accept Tom Maxian, Don Trepaz, Donald Turner from Erie County as alternates, and Lanny Brandon from Wyoming County as Worms Council members. Eric Bart's membership application was held until openings happen on the council. Committee accepted membership application, made recommendations by the date the applicants were received.
I had Dr. Bart in there, and I was told that because he had no application, he was moved off the list.
And we can, Mr. Secretary, go back through the minutes. I believe Dr. Bart was voted on and approved by the collective body at a July meeting, which would have made him a member, and then a subsequent change in membership without it being during the course of a regular meeting would not be appropriate. So Mr. Burt, based on the last minutes submitted, would not be a voting member today, but we could certainly vote on his membership tonight.
Mr. Chair, while that's being researched, can I just question what defines someone as an alternate then? Do they have this, what differentiates an alternate from a regular member?
The bylaws call for the council to be, to be comprised of 26 regular voting members, 13 from Erie County, 13 from Wyoming County, and 4 members at large. The alternate members at large are only permitted to vote in the absence of a regular voting member. There is no guidance on the bylaws as to which alternate would vote first or how that would be conducted. Seeing as we have, only 20 members present this evening, all 4 alternates are certainly permitted to vote.
Thank you.
I don't have September's minutes.
They wouldn't be at September's minutes.
Go with July's minutes, which would have come out in September.
from July of 2016, there was no report from the membership committee. Is that what you were looking for?
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, am I correct in that even with the addition of that extra vote, you don't need the 2/3 majority? It took 14, so it's a moot point this evening?
Regardless of the direction in which he casts his vote, we do not reach the 14 votes required to pass the motion.
Point of order, Anthony Bills here, member of the council. I think we need a simple majority of the total members eligible to vote, whether they're present or not.
No, total members eligible to vote, and that's general construction law. I can pull that up for you, but with the council comprised of 26 members, it requires 14 affirmative votes to pass any measure.
But it's a simple majority of those eligible to vote, right? I think we're saying the same.
But voting membership, not those present.
Yes.
Total votes, correct, which is nominally 14.
14 because the bylaws say 26.
Correct.
Appointed voting members.
So does his vote count or no?
His vote does not count. He is not currently a member of the council. Actually, he has no vote because he's not currently a member of the council.
So is the total eligible to vote 26 or 30?
26.
So that means 14 would need to be affirmative. to pass.
Correct. Correct. A last opportunity to discuss the expansion of operating territory before we, again, excuse the stenographer who was nice enough to hang around with us. Any other points on the expansion of operating territory? All right, hearing none, thank you very much. And we'll entertain a motion to return to our regular order of business. I heard. Cheryl, was that you? Cheryl for the motion to return to business and Master Allen for the second. Don, considering that you had carefully read the November 2nd minutes, I assume that you made a motion to approve and accept?
So,
Thank you, sir. A second to approve and accept the November 2nd minutes from Tracy Chalmers. All in favor? All opposed? All abstaining? Motion passes. Correspondence report, Mr. Secretary.
From AMR, a copy of a letter pertaining to Dr. Yusuf's CO1 request. Erie Community College course applications. WCA Services Corporation, copy of letter pertaining to Dr. Yusuf's CO1 request. Erie Community College course applications. Law Offices of Mark Butler, Legal Services. Law Offices of Mark Butler, a statement of services for Strikersville in Orchard Park. Erie County EMS course applications. AMR, a copy of position paper for Orchard Park Fire Department expansion of primary operating territory. AMR course applications. Law Offices of Mark Butler, statement of services for Strikersville and Orchard Park. Erie County EMS course applications. Erie Community College course applications. That is it.
A motion to approve the Secretary's correspondence report. Carol Stryker, Carol Stoffel.
Who? Sorry.
Stryker, Stoffel. All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes. Medical Advisory Committee, do we have a representative from the council to the Medical Advisory Committee? I don't believe we've had a report from Medical Advisory Committee in some time. Does anybody know who our representative was or was supposed to be? That anybody missed something?
is this to the REMAC?
Yes, to the REMAC.
Greg is listed on the attendance sheet as the delegate.
Who is? Greg Gill is listed as the delegate. Does anybody know, Dr. Biltier, when Greg left, did he indicate that he was leaving, or?
I don't know.
Okay. I suppose we'll ask that question of Greg when he returns, or subsequent to this meeting at some point. He's not here at the moment. New York State Council, we don't currently have a member. If I understand it correctly, Ms. Mayor actually resigned, so it wasn't just a term limit continuation, but you submitted your resignation to the State Council.
It was declined, they did not accept it. Yes, I did.
Okay. Ms. Mayor attempted to resign from the State Council. It didn't take. Would you like to try again?
Dealing with the state is like that.
My understanding, based on email correspondence with Greg Gill, is that Greg will be vetted and, with just a little bit of luck, placed in May, and we will again have our SEMSCO representative. Does anybody have, Cheryl, I'm kind of looking at you, any information that would say yes or no to that?
As far as Greg is concerned? No, the concern is that in some regions, it's approved very quickly. And for some reason, our region is dragging its heels, so. I have heard nothing other than, again, Ms. Byrne alluded to the fact that he would be vetted shortly. And it was just an email.
About a motion that we send a letter to Ms. Burns requesting the status of our SEMSCO rep and the vetting process and when that representative will be appointed. Anybody want to make that motion? I'll write the letter. By Ms. Barber. Second by Mr. Trepez. All in favor of sending correspondence to Ms. Burns, Director Burns requesting the status of our SEMSCO representative?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes. Erie County, anybody have anything in Greg's absence?
Mr. Chairman, I want to go back to the treasurer's report.
Oh, I skipped you. I'm so sorry. Thank you.
She's important.
She's very important. Ms. Barber, treasurer's report, and accept my apologies for prematurely checking.
Hopefully everyone has a copy of the treasurer's report. Including me, as I can find it. To date, $11,460 has been expended. There's $13.5 remaining. We haven't had additional expenses this month to date so far. EMS has been paid for the final quarter of the year. Mr. Zemrek's check for $300 has been included for the end of the season. We still have yet to be invoiced from the stress team, the $2,500. We also, I will be sending out, is in the budget, for rental of the hall, the hall for the meetings. And I believe we also have to pay our yearly fee for the PO box, which is approximately $250. There will be remaining before items are paid, close to $7,000. Just as a heads up. And I will have the invoices from Mr. Butler regarding Orchard Park and also String. Any questions? Do you need a budget modification? Do you need it from us to change the training and ed money over to professional services? They were on my list, program agency, yeah. Yes, that. I would make a motion that we transfer $600 from education and training over to professional services, which I believe we need for the balance of the year's program agencies, yes.
Any second to transfer $600 from training and ed to professional services? Is that the line?
Second.
Is it Carol? Carol. No, it's Carol Steffel. Right. On the question? In favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Motion carries. Anything else for the treasurer's report? Thank you very much. Mr. Gill snuck back in. Thank you. Jumping back up, we're advised that you are our representative to the REMAC. Do you have anything from REMAC to report? Are you our representative to REMAC, or is that a legacy? Not SEMSCO, REMAC.
Oh, REMAC. I'm a representative of REMAC.
Are you interested in being the representative for the REMAC?
I'd love to. I did not go to.
Entertain a motion to have Mr. Gill be our representative to the REMAC. Mr. Maxian, second. No seconds. Oh, now they're moving. Ms. Mayor, on the question. All in favor? Opposed? And abstaining. All right, Mr. Gill, you are officially our representative to the REMAC, so thank you. And I know they did meet this afternoon. And for those who are interested, I believe the educational information on the collaborative protocol will be forthcoming. And we as a region have already adopted that, so the collaborative protocol will be a big agenda push for the REMAC in the near future. We dealt with the state council issue, so Mr. Gill, Erie County. No report from Erie County. Mr. Stryker, Wyoming County. No report. Anybody representing Western New York Stress?
No, but I got emails, and I have the bill. There is training Friday, March 17th and Saturday, March 18th, and it's for group crisis intervention. If anyone wants the correspondence, I don't know if everybody got it, but I have the thing that was mailed to me, so it's up here if you want to take a look at that. Also, I have a bill from Tom Luca. Let's see if it's got the right date on it. It does. Last time it had 2014. A bill enclosed. Please find your 2017 invoice. Last year's Wyoming-Erie Regional EMS Council donated $2,500 to Western New York Stress Reduction. We are very grateful. So I don't know if we have to. I think we might have to vote on it.
It will be a motion to donate.
Cheryl.
Cheryl moves to donate $2,500 to Western New York Stress. Don Treep has seconds. On the question, do we have the money?
Yes, it's in the budget.
We have the money, it's in the budget. Any other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Motion passes. Do we have a representative to Western New York Stress, or do we just deal with that via correspondence?
Is Jim Glass still on this council?
Yes.
Then I think he would be it.
Yep.
I could take care of that.
I'm sorry?
I could take care of that. If you want, I'll do it.
If JT's still on the council and serving, then we'll give him the option, and we can check back if he's not, and we appreciate the volunteerism.
It was John Adolph.
Oh, it was John Adolph.
And then they kind of morphed into JT plus there.
We'll just touch base with him and see what he wants to do, and if he's not interested, we'll come back at the next meeting, nominate you for something else. Committee reports, budget, Tony. No report. Article 30?
Absent.
Absence. Membership, Ann.
Okay, we have then 13 members for Wyoming, 13 for Erie, 3 alternates. The next application would be Eric's. I make a motion he be accepted into the alternate position. I do have pending applications from Jeffrey Mondo, Erie County, and Tom Barcy, Erie County. They will have to be on a waiting list. I also would like some direction on what you want to do about changing the terms from the December that they have been to the end of March so they coincide with our bylaws. Do I shorten the terms or do I lengthen the terms? I have not gotten an answer on that, so they are all sitting, other than new people, at the December date.
Let's deal with, I guess, 3 things at a time. First, before we entertain a motion to vote on Mr. Burt's application, we should probably have a motion on the record to remove Dr. Bart for a process issue, seeing as we did vote him onto the council. We should have a vote to remove him.
Motion that we remove him.
And votes to remove Dr. Bart from the council. A second.
Second.
Second from Carol Staffelt. All in favor?
On the question,
So, I apologize, on the question.
Have we asked him his intentions?
Have we inquired of Dr. Bart his intentions?
He had said that he wanted to be on the council during our August dinner. He did not turn in an application to me, and he has made one meeting in the last year.
Does that satisfy your question, or?
It answers the question, yes, thank you.
Mr. Turner?
So if he's on the council, how did he get on the council?
With no app.
Yeah.
He was brought forth by the membership committee at a meeting, and we as a council voted. So he was voted on the council as a member brought forth by the committee and was accepted as a member and remains a member absent us voting to remove him.
So at this point, we're voting to remove him then?
That's the motion before us, is to remove Dr. Bart as a member of our council. Mr. Maxian?
Is this a situation of first impression, or has something happened in the past? Maybe give us some guidance on how to proceed here. And I guess the essence of the question is, has the council ever voted anybody on it before, in the absence of an application, and moved forward? Is there anything to guide us?
I would defer to our membership chair and previous council chair to offer some information there.
Is it stated specifically in our bylaws?
What's that?
You're saying subsequent meetings?
The
Number of meetings, I thought it was listed in our actual bylaws.
The bylaws, as far as participation, there is a requirement. Let me find it and read it.
Unexcused absences, I don't remember what the terminology was.
This is exciting stuff.
And the reason I bring that up is in the past, we have tried where the secretary has written letters and said, are you interested? Are you interested? If you're not responding, are you still interested? If you don't come again, we'll have to remove you. And some of those positions have been hanging out there for a year or two, and we would receive nothing. So I thought that we were adhering to whatever the bylaws. So I defer to them.
Still looking.
Mr. Gill has his hand up.
Mr. Gill?
Mr. Chairman, is he on the notification list for the meeting?
I defer to our secretary.
He was until we had a conversation. I remember having a conversation, but it wasn't, we didn't vote on it. I think I removed him for this last meeting.
Would it be prudent if I just reached out to him and contacted him just to make sure, about meeting dates and getting the notifications in his email?
Considering where we are right now and some of the conversations that have come before the council tonight, I think official correspondence would be appropriate rather than a phone call, so.
I'll give a report to the chair.
And absent that, just so everybody knows, unless the motion is being withdrawn, the motion on the floor is to remove Dr. Bart. There is a conflict in the bylaws as to how that happens. There are two possible ways that a member can be removed. One of those ways is through an executive committee process. The other way is through the motion coming before us as a body, and 3/4 of the voting members voting to remove that member, which would require us to vote 20 affirmative votes to remove the member.
So motion to table would be appropriate?
A motion to table or a withdrawal of the motion?
I think you have to vote on the motion that's on the floor in a second.
You can table. The motion to table actually takes precedence now. So a motion to table is on the floor. Second on that motion? Mr. Stryker, vote on the motion to table the question of terminating Dr. Bart's membership. All in favor of tabling? Aye? Opposed? Abstaining? The original motion is tabled.
Who made the motion?
Cheryl made the original motion, Bill Stryker seconded, which I believe would render, and if that's the case, then we don't have a vacancy to vote Mr. Bird into tonight, is that correct? I will defer to the population here as far as how we handle the term of office with regard to the bylaws. I do not know when it was imposed in the bylaws. It was in the bylaws in the first copy I received, labeled June of 2012, that the term of office commences on April 1st and terminates on March 31st. For a period of time before then, I presume it was calendar year, and there were some carryover issues. So we have a number of members in the council whose terms are set to expire at the end of a calendar year as opposed to the year established in the bylaw. I would think it appropriate for us to work backward from that calendar year termination to March 31st of the end of term for that year, simply because I don't think we should, by act here, be extending somebody's term beyond the 4 years, which is established in Article 30, not just our bylaws. But we could go either way with it. I think we should bring the terms of membership into compliance with our bylaws, and that's a prudent question and one that should be asked of all of us here. So I guess there's two ways we can go: a motion to extend those terms to be March 31st subsequent to the current expiration date, or a motion to move the current expiration date back to March 31st of the same year in which the membership expires.
I will make a motion that we move it forward in order to make it all consistent. I don't think reducing someone's terms appropriate.
So the motion is to move the term of office forward basically 3 months from December 31st until March 31st, which would be the termination date. A second on that motion? Tom Turner? On the question? Mr. Smith?
The dates for the people's term on the council, isn't that in bylaws?
It is. And
Doesn't that require an actual bylaw change then?
we're not changing the bylaw. The bylaw remains that the term commences on April 1st and terminates on March 31st. What we're changing is a clerical error that occurred at some point in a tracking process that logged those elected as ending December 31st when they should have ended on March 31st. Anybody else on the question? All right, all in favor of moving dates? It would be actually changing the calendar year in March. So anybody who would be listed as expiring, for example, December 31st of 17 would now become March 31st of 18. All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
And I am a nay as well. So 2 opposed and an overwhelming majority for in favor and abstaining. Motion passes. Would you update those, and do you need me to send something to Scott, or do you just?
I'll send it to Scott.
Thanks very much, Ann. So Greg's going to follow up with Dr. Bart. We'll know Dr. Bart's intentions and how to proceed there. And Mr. Bird, if you'd bear with us one more meeting.
Mr. Chairman, per Dr. Bart, he is more than willing to step aside because there are people waiting. He's happy to serve on the state alone.
Would you ask Dr. Bart to forward a resignation by email to either the chair or the secretary now?
Is that Dr. Bart's report?
Apparently, Dr. Bart's by text message informing.
Well, I was just on the phone and I didn't realize our program.
Before you offered, I already texted him. So
He didn't say anything to this.
If he forwards it by email, we can return to membership and deal with that now. Does anybody object to moving on from the membership report for the moment?
His representation for us to the state.
To the CMAC? It would not. The physician representative of the CMAC is not required to be a member of the council. They're required to serve in the geographical area of the council. Dr. Bart obviously is a physician at ECMC and veterans, well within our boundaries. And appreciate the question. So we'll revisit that if he comes back to it. Ms. Lapp, anything else for membership?
No, I think that's enough.
Certainly enough. Thank you. We'll come back to that. From the Systems Committee, you heard the report of the work that we've done most recently. I will explain the changes that all of you are witnessing, I guess, tonight in a moment. but as a result of my being here as the chair of our council, I cannot chair the systems committee. I am an ex officio member, I believe ex officio voting member of the systems committee, but not a chair possible. Committees are empowered to elect their own chairs. The current members of the systems committee are Bill Stryker, Cheryl Mayer, Greg Gill, Mark Sapanic. Seeing as I would become ex officio, is there anybody else interested in serving on the systems committee to make it a nice round number of 5? Don Trepez, anybody else interested? Tom Maxian, anybody else interested? Tony, are you rubbing your nose or volunteering? Okay. Tony Santoro. Anybody else? Seeing as we have
Mr. Gomez.
Our alternates eligible to be on the committee.
the committee requirements, very good question. I like you being up there. Do you know the answer to this?
No, I don't.
If you know the answer, jump right in.
No, I'll tell you, I don't know.
The committee chairperson, meeting attendance, committees. The chairperson shall appoint committees as necessary. The chairpersons of all committees other than the executive committee and the nominating committee shall be elected by the members appointed to those committees. The executive committee shall have the authority to disperse not to exceed 1,000 necessary over unanticipated circumstances without prior authorization of the council. So there is absolutely no guidance, which, it being silent, I believe the answer to be yes, they can. We were seeking one candidate for the council, so rather than it be my discretion, because I'm 14 minutes into this and I will get you back somehow, I would ask for somebody other than the two candidates to move and we can vote for a candidate. I don't know how to handle that by voice vote. Any guidance? Or a motion to add both members to the systems committee. Madonna to add Tom Maxian and Don Trepez to the systems committee. Christina Mastrella as the second on the question. Okay. Gentlemen, you are so appointed. Systems committee, would the 6 of you please get together and nominate and elect a chairperson and advise who that chairperson is? You don't have to do it right now. So that'll be the systems committee report. I also have received from, we can't do this, received from Damon College a BLSFR for a new organization, the Damon College Rescue Squad. It's a BLSFR application that will be referred to the systems committee. Is there somebody, Greg, who would like to take, Greg, the application with them tonight and initiate the BLSFR process? Greg.
I would like to, if you would give me the opportunity.
I'll give you the application before we depart tonight, Greg, and you can confer with the balance of the council or the committee and report back to us on how that goes. Thank you. Anything for systems?
Can I back up to membership though?
Yes, ma'am.
If Dr. Bart has resigned, I do have an alternate, can we revote?
I believe we can. If he's resigned, then we can move the alternate into the vacancy and then cast a vote. So just waiting for a formal, did you get anything yet?
Restate my motion that Eric Burt be appointed to the alternate position.
You're just waiting to get correspondence from Dr. Bart that he is resigning. The second we have that official correspondence, then
I need receipt of the actual resignation.
You can do it that way.
okay, yeah.
I will second that motion.
So the motion
Hold on,
is
please. Stand by. These are my notes, and they're a mess tonight.
You think you're a stenographer? Probably should have.
All right. Do we have to? He's resigning, so we're okay. We don't, okay. So we have to also. Do we have to remove the motion that was tabled too?
This is a new motion. We wouldn't have to do anything. We
Right.
entertain the new motion.
But we didn't. We tabled the motion about Dr. Bart.
But the table to the start.
except we're gonna make that, we're gonna make that a motion. So with Ms. Mayor's permission, we will amend the motion to be, we're going to approve Eric Burt. And so in the event, or pending, or contingent on the resignation of Dr. Bart from the council and the subsequent vacancy, who is the alternate that will move into the voting position?
Eric would move into the alternate position.
Eric becomes an alternate, and one of our current alternates moves to a voting position.
No, because Dr. Bart was an alternate.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's even easier. So we have a motion from Cheryl, a second from Don Trepez. On the question. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. And abstaining? Well, Eric, we'll offer you a contingent congratulations and welcome aboard. As soon as we get that letter from Dr. Bart, you're in it with the rest of us.
See me after the meeting. Eric, I need your email address.
I have it.
Great. Okay, so that takes care of the return to membership. Systems is done. Sammy, training and ed.
I received applications from multiple resources, and I have filed them.
Anything for training and ed? Ms. Mastrella with a motion to accept the report, a second.
Yeah, you don't need to.
Fine.
You don't have to
We
accept.
took the report, we're moving on. I was told we don't have to do a vote.
No.
I'm taking his word for it. Bylaws, Mr. Glass is not here. Anything for bylaws, from bylaws, by email or anything?
Nothing.
Anything need to be forwarded to bylaws? Okay, anybody interested in serving on the bylaws committee? Because we certainly need some help there. All right, fine, we'll drag you in later. Hey, Greg? Yeah, we need a report on awards and PR.
Working on that board. We'll get the word out. I don't have to place yet.
So
Working on a date. It's normally the third Wednesday.
everything's in progress, normally the third Wednesday of July, right? Third Wednesday of July. More information to follow. It's not even snowing yet, so we got time. Anything for awards and PR? Staff health operations. No report. Scott, program agency.
Is this steering committee or mine?
This is yours.
Okay. Report was disseminated, and you can read through many of the items that are on here. A couple of items of significance, just to point out, we have the EMS Officer Training course that is coming up at the Yellow Fire Company on February 4th. As of today's date, we have 65 people signed up to take the program. Just as a reminder, you don't have to be an EMS officer. This is really open to anybody who might inherit the position halfway through the year or sometime down their EMS career. It just really sets you up to know who the players are in the system and how everything comes together. So that's coming up. We have a certified lab instructor course that just completed, and the second one that we had to add because the response to the first one was so strong. We had right around 60 applicants, candidates who were interested in taking the program. Most of them were from within the Wyoming-Erie region. I would say only about 10 or 12 of them were from outside of Wyoming-Erie. So we have split this into two groups, and hopefully that program will get approved. That's going to be held the first weekend in February. First 2 weekends of February, rather. There are a number of other trainings that are being offered and that have been completed. Just from I highlighted this today at the REMAC meeting, and I want to bring it up again here because I think this is a really unique opportunity. So many times we hear about rapid recertification, and that's what people often call the CME-based recertification, and they really aren't the same thing. CME-based research, you have to complete 72 hours of CME over 3 years, and then you don't have to take the test at the end. We are, for really the first time in my 23-year venture in EMS, seeing a rapid recertification program that is being offered by AMR for EMTs, CCs, and paramedics. Basic EMTs and CFRs are not eligible to do this program per the New York State requirement. But what the Rapid Research Program is there's no CME requirement to it. It's a matter of taking the New York State Practical Skill Exam and taking the New York State Written Exam, and you are renewed, and that's it. And so you don't have to reside in Erie County. You just have to be a member of an EMS service and have your medical director sign off on the eligibility form. And registration deadline is April 14th at 4 o'clock, and the practical skill exam and the written exam are in June. So this really, truly is rapid recertification. We haven't seen it in this region, again, in my time, so I want to share that with you and make sure that you're aware that that opportunity is there. EpiPens, one of the changes that just happened in public health law, there is no longer a requirement to file a notice of intent for EpiPens. This means that you or I could be prescribed an EpiPen, and we could be out there doing. You don't need an EHCP, emergency healthcare provider, or a medical director. You don't have to be a service. It can be prescribed to a person, anyone. So what they're really hoping is that the PAD law is eventually going to be modified, so we don't have to deal with notice of intent and so forth there. But this is designed to increase access to EpiPens, which I'm sure will drive the cost down. Our EMS conference is coming up April 21st and 22nd. And then last but not least, and this is not included in my report, at our program agency director meeting this past last week in Albany, we had Lee Burns as well as the other leadership from the Bureau. One of the things that we're really trying to improve is the communication from the Bureau that goes out to the EMS agencies, and when program agencies get notified of this communication. Let me give you some examples. The BLSFR update that had been going on for several months, and people were getting third and fourth delinquency notices for not responding to this update. That was when the program agencies were brought into the fold to say, we notified these guys 4 times, and their agency code's going to be shut off in 30 days if they don't get back to us. Well, that really doesn't give us enough time to go out and work our magic with the services, and we generally have contacts with all these services, and we partner with our county leadership to tackle this. We had a service that was participating in the CME-based recertification program. They were suspended from the program, had an application that was not going to be processed because they were suspended, so a provider that was offline. And not only did we not know as a program agency that this was going on, but I also worked for the group who was their medical director, and we didn't know that this was going on. And this kind of stuff is what I call not cool. And we need to be there as a resource for the EMS services, and the Bureau has really embraced this. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to, we have a great relationship with our local guys, but things that generally come out of the central office are the things that we are very, very delayed in getting notified about. So what we just asked is kind of a change in culture within the Bureau, that unless it's something that is an enforcement that we can't know about it, just try to copy us on every other communication at first opportunity. That way we can try to close the loop and be a resource to the services. And they've been very receptive. Everything else is in the report, unless you have questions for me.
I appreciate your help with the CLI program.
Yes.
The first one we did get 25 out. Second completed. What we focused on in the first group was people who had agency support sponsorship. Out of the 60, half of them had an actual
more interested in the time spent, you know, we know we're gonna lose going into these, and that's not the point.
Well, we found them streamline a little more activity and make it faster, work continuous throughout the day, and get rid of the 4-hour front end. I don't think we'll have a problem with that, yeah. No. So we're looking forward to that. And then Scott's going to be putting in for an IC class later on. We're hoping in May, yeah, to try to get back on target.
With the rep research program, for if someone isn't eligible for the CEA-based research, do they follow the same thing for the rapid research, or is it a whole different setup for that eligible?
So the only thing that would make you ineligible for the rapid research program, there's some prerequisites, and probably everybody here has already met them. They're the ICS prerequisites, and if you don't, you can go online and do them. And so you just have to demonstrate with a certificate that you have completed the ICS requirements. And then there is a rapid research form that your medical director signs off on. It's like a single front page application that's just your basic demographics and the medical director attesting that they are okay with you doing it this way, that they're familiar with your practice. And once you're signed off on it, at that point, you are, and you're registered, you meet the deadline. The reason why April 14th is there is because they have to meet that 45-day rule prior to that June 15th, so they went 60 days back and they have to have their complete roster. Once that application's there, you're eligible. So even if you had somebody in CME who wasn't gonna make it, you knew they weren't gonna make it, this would be an alternative for them taking a challenge refresher or tradition refresher, because they wouldn't even have to go to the mandatory classes.
Yeah, just a question about CLI. You know, I welcome more CLIs in the area. That's a good thing, and it's good to hear there's 60 people interested in taking it. Where are you guys concerned having 2 classes back to back and 30 people that are all going to be clawing at each other to get all their hours in 18 months?
Yeah, that was a very candid conversation that I had with each of the core sponsor administrators. And, you know, just said anybody, you know, Wyoming County, I think you had maybe 2 or 3 that were there. I wasn't too concerned about that, but the Erie County ones that were definitely loaded, this was a conversation we had, because you only have 18 months to get this done. And that includes your regional faculty audits, and, you know, other CIC audits. And so what we told the core sponsors was, don't get in over your head. And so they really were very sensitive to that. It was dialogue that we had to make sure that that didn't happen.
And just on that AMR, and originally assessed as I think we're going to sponsor 4. And then after a reassessment, we came back and decided to possibly pivot to 1. So yeah, that's a concern too, because again, 50% of the people normally don't.
Yeah, I just wouldn't want us to put people in a position where they're going to fail because they can't keep.
Yeah, and while we're being candid, I mean, the biggest issue with doing this is I don't think I would promote the class the way that we've done. We have not ever had this problem before. There's always been a lot of interest, but I don't know, I mean, we must have said there was free beer in the class or something, because to get that kind of response was tremendous. I think in the future, we're really gonna push this to the core sponsors and say, send us your non-certified faculty, and if you have other people who you are considering hiring, and then if we have other limited seats, we can do it. I mean, we're gonna look at this. Of all problems to have, I think this is just a good one.
It's good. I'd be worried if I was one of those 60 individuals fighting.
Yeah.
Didn't you say we had 42 CICs already in Erie County? Now we're gonna.
We have, our CIC to CLI count in Erie County is 2 to 1, and that is completely backward of anywhere else in New York State. It's another good problem, but there's a lot of inactive CICs or people who, you know, they're not 25 anymore.
You're only required to do 1 class. But I don't know if anyone talked to Jen. So you take that and you spread it all out. You have those people that do a class every semester, and then you have those people who do 1 class every 3 years. And from my position, I need the CLIs, because what I'm doing is I'm using CICs as CLIs in training. And the ICs, as you can imagine, aren't happy working for CLI salary.
record anymore, once every 3 years. You can, if you don't get your name on a roster, you can have a bureau rep or a regional faculty come out and you just go teach in a class for 2 sessions, get 2 favorable audits, and you're renewed. You don't have to have your name on a class anymore.
My question is, why be I say?
Because you may not need it now, and you might want it later. And I fall into that category. I can't use it right now, but maybe I can down the road. So.
Thank you for your report.
Yep, thanks.
Any questions any more questions to the program agency?
Just a comment, and that is, we're really enjoying when you bring classes to Wyoming.
More classes in Wyoming County, please, Scott. Tony, for the program agency steering committee, there's a request for more classes in Wyoming County. Do you have a report for us?
No report today.
No report. So there's a request from Wyoming County for more classes. Make that happen.
We'll try.
Anything for the program agency steering committee? Excellent. We're bringing it in for a landing. Under old business, one item that did not make the agenda is we have our nominations open from December. And if I'm correct, nobody has submitted or been nominated for the chair-elect position.
I haven't received everything, and Noel has gotten to me. I don't think he did anything.
We'll accept nominations from the floor from Wyoming County for the chair-elect position. Anybody want to nominate Bill Stryker? We have 2 nominations.
Not for me.
Anybody from Wyoming County interested in serving as chair-elect? It's Wyoming County's year for chair-elect. I'll bring cookies, milk, whiskey. Tell me what the match number is. Okay, then our slate as presented, I believe, was open for chair-elect. So chair-elect remains open, and Zemi was nominated and accepted for secretary and is up for election at this meeting. We have enough members, I believe, present for the meeting. Does that have to be a roll call vote, or?
I'd say no.
Okay, we have a motion to have the secretary cast 1 ballot for the secretary. Second by Mr. Gill. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Congratulations.
Thank you. Who made the motion?
The motion was from Christine. So that takes care of old business. New business, we touched on the Orchard Park expansion of operating territory. I'm sorry, we way touched on that. I'm reading down. The Damon College Rescue Squad BLSFR app. Go ahead, Jim. You have new business?
On February 1st, Andy Johnson, the Director of Education, will be in Erie County doing kind of a educational update. It's not going to be an instructor update, it's only going to be 2 hours. Be at the fire training center from 7 to 9. All CIC, CLIs are invited from the region.
And that was from 7 to 9 p.m. on February 1st, correct?
At the fire training center.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I believe, Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, that meeting is mandatory for Erie County CICs, is that correct?
That's what the email said.
Yes, I don't think it's part of our minutes here.
Just making sure those present are aware. Any other new business before I hit the few items I have on the list? Mr. Chupaz.
Mr. Chair, simply at your recommendation, when I had asked the question, I had asked relative to the systems committee meeting, based on finding notice of that, when it was going to be scheduled and so forth. If you recall, your response was that you, as a council, had not normally sent that stuff out. And so your recommendation was that I bring it up here. I'm wondering if we can develop a process and notification of the council members in case people want to be present to get, to hear the conversations and so forth at different committees or special meetings and such.
Anybody have an issue with committees, whether standing or special, reporting meeting dates and locations to the secretary for wide distribution to the council? All right. Committee chairs, as you schedule your meetings, please notify Chris as early as you possibly can so that he can get that distributed to at least all of us. And remember, the committees are public meetings, so we have to comply with the public meeting notice there. If it's more than a week in advance, there's one set of rules. If it's less than a week in advance, there's another set of rules. So just bear in mind when you make notice to Zemi how to handle that. I'm alternating back and forth with Chris and Zemi. We'll deal with that later. Thank you. Anything else for new business at the moment? Okay, I have a couple things. Committee chairs who are here, I will email all of you. I assume the committee chairs interested in remaining committee chairs will do so. If not, would you please guide your committees to elect the committee chair as appropriate, and we can touch base there. If you're remaining the committee chair, please email me and Chris the full list of committee members so we know who is serving on which committee, in addition to scheduled meeting dates and times. That's done, that's done. I had a question about our meeting time. We changed about a year ago from 7 p.m. to 6 p.m. We've been operating at 6 p.m. and I've heard from a lot of folks that 6 p.m. is a very difficult time to make due to traffic and work constraints. Throwing it out there as general consensus, does everybody think 7 p.m. is a better time, or what's the feeling in the room? Conversation. I see nodding heads and nobody talking.
I like 6.
1 for 6.
There you go.
2 for 6.
3 for 6.
4 for 6.
There we go.
All right, let's just make that a vote then. We'll do this by hands because we're going to be counting, I'm sure. So we'll do a motion to keep our meetings at 6 p.m. If the motion fails, we move our meetings back to 7 p.m. About a second. Tony. So, on the question, a yes vote is we stay at 6, a no vote is we go back to 7. No questions. All in favor, hands please. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, which is passed. Thank you very much. Just we need to deal with the inquiry. The last 2 items I had before we adjourn for the night. The reason that I've managed our meeting this evening is last night, and I don't know if he wants to elaborate, but last night Greg emailed me at me and Chris and Mark, I believe, at about 11:30 to notify us of his resignation effective immediately. So I've been your chair for I'm at 20 hours. We haven't effected a full transition yet. I assume that we'll be meeting to swap some documents and get some other stuff done. We'll get that scheduled. If you have no other comment, Greg, thank you for many years of service, for your continued participation, for your willingness to serve as our representative to the WEREMSCO, to the REMAC, potentially to Western New York Health, and for taking that folder with you when you leave. So thank you, Greg, for your service. We appreciate that. So with Greg's resignation, and we have the open chair-elect position, because the scheduled vote is closed, the chair-elect remains open for the balance of the year, which is going to put us into a pickle next year. Hopefully we can get a bylaw amendment in the middle of the year sometime to deal with what will now be that vacancy, and we can get whatever in place we need to start rebuilding the vacant seat. The other thing that everybody should be aware of, first, our legal counsel, Mark Butler, was not here this evening because he's been stricken down with whatever bug is striking people down these recent weeks. He did offer us a lot of guidance in advance and the opportunity to bring things here and do it consistent with all of our previous correspondence. Mark sent an email to Greg and to I on Sunday night offering some additional guidance and expressing his intent, but not an affirmative act, his intent to resign as our legal counsel at the conclusion of tonight's meeting. He's not here. He's not taken any further steps consistent with that intent. I don't know if that remains his intent or how we're going to process. He did indicate in that letter that tonight he would also be supplying us with all the work product that he had on the incorporation, the articles of incorporation and not-for-profit status, so that we can avail ourselves of some of the free tech that is out there that will make our lives a little better. If Mark does intend to resign, we will have to seek a new legal representative, which I believe will be an appropriate task for the executive committee, but if there are others who have contacts or recommendations or just want to put somebody forward that we can start making telephone calls and seeking options, that'd be great. I know locally the other EMS attorney is Steve Cohn. I don't know if he's available. I don't know if he's interested. I don't know if his rates are something that are consistent with what we do. And I don't know if he has any conflicts with serving as our legal representation. So any names or interest in serving as part of the search committee, get a hold of me. So.
What was the hourly
On the most recent invoice, January 5th, 2017, we have 1 half hour of work billed at $162.50, which if I carry the 1 puts us at $325 per hour. Does that sound right, Past Chair Gill?
I'd have to check it. It sounds about right. Yeah, I think you get 3 different rates that have to be.
The recent invoices you have, that's consistent. It seems to be about $325, but we'll verify that, and maybe there's a varying rate schedule for his assistants, for anybody else that's working in his office on our materials. We finally brought it in for a landing. Any other new business? Hearing none, who's going to fire the first shot? Christina, second. We're out. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.